Hey, what's up everybody? I'm Shiva Melchizedek and you're looking at Catch the Vibes. Today I'm going to meet Loreal Prystaj, a visual artist based in London. She expressed her idea through photography and sculpture. Loreal creates scenery that highlight the connection between the physical environment and her internal state. Her photography has been shown in a variety of exhibitions around the world and received many great awards. Hi Loreal, how are you doing? You alright?
I'm wonderful, thank you.
You look wonderful too.
Thank you, it's a beautiful day.
It is. So, first question would be, what did inspire you to become an artist?
So when I was younger, I had always done art. Like in my spare time, I would sit in my basement and I would illustrate, I would paint, all of the above. And I think, looking back, it was very much like an escape for me as a child. And then as I got older, I recognized that, art and creating is a form of expression.
Yeah.
And so I continued doing painting and illustrating, and it wasn't until the end of high school, so that's when you're like 18 or 17, 18, that I recognized I loved photography. And the reason being is because it was a very fast medium for me, because I have a lot of ideas. And so I was attracted to this tool because I could almost create paintings, if you will, like in reality, photograph it, and it would almost be an art piece unto itself.
Yeah. So that's what's gonna bring me to the next question. How, because I've checked your photographies, how would you they're kind of spatial, you know what I mean? Like they're not just like you just take pictures of a subject. Explain to us like the whole process of your creation.
Like what my process is, or my subject matter, or that?
All of like the subject matter and how you achieve those images. We're gonna put some image and see how many I might put some image. See how it is.
Definitely. So a lot of what I'm attracted to, it's a very intuitive process. First off, how photography came about. I don't necessarily always have an idea right away, and I don't always have a concept, but more so I might have just like a visual in my mind, or I'm attracted to something that might be in my environment, or through experience, what am I inspired to photograph. Oftentimes though, these ideas I will see like the human form, and being that I'm like with myself all the time, and I don't know if I will have access to other people, or don't want to, I get very determined and I don't want to push somebody too much, so I often do work with myself, because I will stay up late to photograph something, I will contort my body to do something, so I ended up, my subject oftentimes is me, which is like self-portraiture. Granted, even though it's self-portraiture, I will then analyze my images and almost see a concept that is outside of myself. So I almost use my body as a vessel rather than an image of myself. It's more of just a portrait of a body, oftentimes.
True.
Why I don't have clothes.
You detach yourself from it.
100%. And that's another reason I've had people ask me like, oh, Loreal, why are you always nude? Why are you always naked in your images? And the answer to that is simply because clothing says too much about absolutely nothing. It's like, as a viewer, people look at clothing and then they identify or they classify you as something, or it becomes more about the individual rather than maybe a concept of just looking at a body as a form.
It makes it makes sense. Like, so let's get to the next question.
you show me the casting, the body farm.
Yeah. Body farm.
We're gonna have a little look at it. Can you tell us a bit about the whole concept?
Body farm.
The whole concept of that.
Well, as I was saying, like in photography, I am very much attracted to photographing the body. The nude form, granted, yes, it's been a lot of myself. I have photographed other people as well, but majority myself. That attraction to the body has also kind of like permeated into other mediums. So while I was going to university at Royal College of Art, I had access to a whole bunch of different types of material. One being a plaster. So doing body castings, of which none of them started off being me. I've been casting either friends or family members. So was practicing a lot in making sculpture, live casts, body parts. Body farm, to tell you about that. While I was in New York, that is where I grew up, so my home, New York, I had casted my family members, and I was casting their faces, casting their hands and their feet, etc., etc., just like, ooh, I really want to cast the extremities of my family. But I didn't really know fully what I was doing. So casted these body parts, these extremities of my family. And being that I live in London, I had to somehow bring all of those things from New York to London. And the cheapest and the most convenient way to do so was putting all of my family members' body parts in my luggage. So it was just like a suitcase full of my family. And so I was bringing them from New York to London. So my previous home to my new home. And as I brought them through customs and on the airplane, etc., once I arrived to London, I opened the suitcase and half of their body parts were broken, everything was crushed. Also, I totally forgot to mention this to you previously, but there was also mold growing on them.
Oh shit.
I know.
Oh shit.
There was a mold. But anyhow, irrelevant of the mold, all of their pieces were broken. So I was like, what could this mean? How could I use this in some work? And at the time, I was prepping for an exhibition in Lewisham Art House, which is in London, as part of, what was it called? Pick London. And it was like a collaboration with different artists to exhibit in Lewisham Art House. And so I'm like, how can I present this? Because this is not at all what I expected. They're all broken, oh great. And as I'm looking at the pieces and kind of analyzing what I was doing, it was almost as though I saw that the parts of my family members being broken, and my act of bringing them with me to my new home, it was almost as though I was trying to hold on to the memories of my family or bring them with me. And it was almost as though when I looked at their broken parts, it kind of communicated to me the fragility of memory and how much we all actually have difficulty retaining memory in fullness. It's always fractured and it always becomes fabricated. And yeah, every human being has difficulty and struggles with retaining memory in fullness. So it was kind of just
a way to keep it like.
Yeah. And as for the piece itself, I exhibit it in Lewisham Art House in a certain way. But if I exhibit somewhere else, I would completely change it. It wouldn't look the same. Parts are the same, but memory is like that. It's always in flux. It's always changing. You completely forget things. You make up things also. And so that's Body Farm.
That's a nice concept. We show some image. Leave us some comment. Let us know your reaction to that. So next question. Have you got like some tips for someone who wants to get into the artistic Whoa.
Tips.
some advice.
Oh, geez, Louise. Okay, so if I could give some tips and advice. Okay, maybe I'll start with some tips and then I'll go into the advice. They're maybe the same thing, but or maybe advice. So advice, yes. To be an artist, you literally need to breathe it, think it, eat it, sleep it. It literally needs to be something that you do 24/7. Like, there's a lot of people that are doing it 24/7 that you will be devoured in the art world. You might not be noticed, maybe you'll be lucky. I don't know. I can't speak for everybody. But is literally staying on top of that. I need to get some water. Like, I'm thirsty. But right, staying on top of that and being very true to yourself. Like taking a step back and reflecting. You know, where you came from and where you are, because you need to recognize, this is like the biggest advice I would say, is with that of being an artist and thinking about your work 24/7, it's so easy to get into yourself a lot, and which you have to be. But get into yourself a lot that maybe sometimes the things outside of you can crumble a little bit. So it's important to appreciate and be aware of that without all the people outside of yourself and without all the support and the love of people outside of you, you would be absolutely nothing. So my biggest advice is to really take a step back and appreciate the people, the things, the experiences that have gotten you to where you are as an artist.
You get that?
Get that.
Cool. So my last question would be like, where can we see your stuff? Have you got places that you expose your art?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of things. I have my website, which is www.lorealprystaj.com. I have an Instagram, which is just Loreal_Prystaj. Also, I'm represented right now by a gallery called covet.art. You literally just have to Google or just type in your URL.
We put the link as well.
Covet.art. There's no .com because it's just .art. Then I have some work that was exhibiting in Ukraine. That's still there. So you can see work in different parts. There's more to come.
Sweet. We stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for giving us some of your time.
Thank you. This was lovely.
Stay tuned for the next tune.
Ciao.
Hey, thank you for watching. Please remember to like, share, comment and subscribe to keep up to date with our latest content. And check Loreal's work in the link below. Stay safe.